Welcome, dear viewers, to a night of chilling tales that will plunge you into the depths of terror. In tonight's special presentation, we bring you not one but two bone-chilling horror stories centered around the sinister world of cults. Prepare to be riveted by the darkness that lies within the human soul as we uncover the secrets, rituals, and malevolent forces that lurk in the shadows. These stories will grip your imagination and send shivers down your spine. So, if you dare, join us on this harrowing journey into the realm of cult horrors, where ordinary lives collide with the unimaginable, and the line between reality and nightmare blurs into nothingness. But beware, dear viewers, for once you descend into these tales, there may be no escape. So gather your courage and brace yourself for an unforgettable experience as we delve deep into the world of darkness and despair. Prepare to be haunted by the unknown, as we present to you two terrifying cult horror stories that will leave you breathless. Let the nightmare begin. Harvest of Shadows, the lost village of desolation. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate road as a group of friends embarked on a road trip through the remote countryside. They were adventurous souls seeking thrills and new experiences, and this journey had taken them far from civilization into the heart of nowhere. As they drove deeper into the wilderness, they stumbled upon a seemingly abandoned village that wasn't marked on any map. It beckoned to them like a forgotten secret. The village, nestled in a valley between looming mountains, appeared to be frozen in time. Dilapidated houses with rotting wood and moss-covered roofs stood eerily silent. It was as if the very essence of life had been drained from this place, leaving only a sense of melancholic decay. The friends decided to explore the village, their curiosity outweighing the growing unease that gnawed at the edges of their minds. The air was thick with tension as they wandered through the empty streets, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. Abandoned possessions littered the ground, hinting at a hasty departure, but no signs of life remained. As the group ventured further into the village, they discovered a small, weathered church at the centre of town. Its windows were shattered, and the door creaked open with a sound that sent shivers down their spines. Reluctantly, they entered, finding the interior in a state of disarray. Pews were overturned, religious relics shattered, and the walls covered in strange symbols. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered Alex, the group's skeptic, as he picked up an old, dusty Bible from the pulpit. He flipped through its pages, revealing passages underlined in red ink. Looks like someone had an obsession with this book. As they continued exploring, they came across a crypt beneath the church. The dank stone chamber was filled with rows of wooden coffins. The friends exchanged nervous glances, but curiosity once again got the better of them, and they decided to pry open one of the coffins. Inside, they found the mummified remains of a woman, her face frozen in a grotesque expression of agony. Shocked and repulsed, they slammed the coffin shut and hastily retreated from the crypt. It was becoming clear that this village held dark secrets. Just as they were about to leave, the group heard faint chanting coming from outside. They cautiously peeked through the broken windows and saw a group of hooded figures, cloaked in tattered robes, congregating in the town square. They watched in horrified fascination as the cult members raised their arms in unison, their voices rising in a sinister hymn. "We need to get out of here," whispered Sarah, her voice trembling. "This is not something we want to get involved in." The friends made a hasty exit from the church, but they had underestimated the danger of their situation. As they retreated into the village, they realized they were no longer alone. Shadows moved in the periphery of their vision, and the eerie sensation of being watched intensified. The cult was aware of their presence. Frantic and desperate, the friends tried to find an escape route. But the village seemed to have closed in around them, like a trap, its narrow streets leading them in circles. Panic set in as they heard the cult's chanting growing louder, drawing nearer. In their frantic attempts to escape, they stumbled upon a house that seemed slightly less decrepit than the others. They burst inside, hoping to find a way out, but instead, they discovered something even more horrifying. The walls of the house were adorned with photographs, newspaper clippings, and notes detailing the cult's activities over the years. It became clear that the cult had been here for generations, performing twisted rituals and unspeakable acts of sacrifice to appease an ancient, malevolent entity. The friends were trapped in a village that existed solely to serve this dark power, and there was no way out. Suddenly, the chanting outside reached a deafening crescendo, and the friends knew they were running out of time. They barricaded themselves in the house, trying to formulate a plan. But one by one, they began to disappear, their terrified screams echoing through the empty streets. As the night wore on, the survivors realized that there was no escape from the clutches of the cult. The village had become a nightmarish realm where the line between life and death had blurred, and they were being hunted down as sacrificial offerings to the malevolent entity that lurked in the shadows. In the end, they were all taken, their screams fading into the night as the village returned to its eerie silence. The group of friends had stumbled upon a place of unspeakable horror, and their fates were sealed in the blood-soaked history of the mysterious cult that called this forsaken village home. The resurgence of shadows, the town's sinister secret. Nestled in a quiet corner of the countryside, the town of Ravenswood appeared to be the epitome of small-town charm. It was a place where everyone knew their neighbour's name, and life moved at a tranquil pace. But that idyllic facade was shattered when a series of gruesome murders rocked the town, bearing the same sinister signature as a cult that had supposedly disbanded years ago. The first victim was found on a moonless night, her lifeless body arranged in a grotesque tableau at the edge of the town's woods. Her limbs had been meticulously contorted into unnatural positions, and strange symbols were etched into her flesh with precision. Whispers of a resurgent cult began to circulate among the townspeople, their fear mounting with each passing day. The cult, known as the Disciples of the Abyss, had terrorized Ravenswood decades ago with their dark rituals and gruesome sacrifices. It was believed that they had disbanded, their leaders imprisoned or dead. But the evidence at the murder scene has painted a different picture. The symbols, the methodical brutality, all pointed to a chilling truth. The cult was reforming, and they were intent on continuing their macabre practices. As fear spread like wildfire, old suspicions and dormant secrets resurfaced. The townspeople began to eye each other with mistrust, wondering if their friends and neighbours were hiding a sinister allegiance to the cult. Everyone became a potential suspect in the eyes of their fellow townsfolk. Sheriff Samuel Mitchell, a no-nonsense lawman who had grown up in Ravenswood, found himself facing a nightmare he had thought was buried in the past. He remembered the tales his grandfather had told him about the cult's reign of terror and the fear in the old man's eyes when he spoke of the cult's unholy practices. Determined to protect his town and uncover the truth, Sheriff Mitchell began to dig deeper into the cult's history. He found dusty old records hidden away in the town archives, revealing the names of those who had once been suspected cult members. The sheriff knew that the key to unraveling the mystery lay in understanding the cult's motives and patterns. As he pored over the records, a chilling pattern emerged. The cult had always chosen their victims with a purpose, and their rituals were not random acts of violence. They believed in a malevolent deity, and they believed that each sacrifice brought them closer to releasing this entity from its prison in the abyss. With this knowledge in hand, Sheriff Mitchell began to anticipate the cult's next move. He organised a town meeting, urging the citizens of Ravenswood to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity. The townspeople, while still gripped by fear, rallied together, forming a makeshift neighbourhood watch. The cult, however, was not idle. They struck again, this time taking the life of a prominent town council member. His body was found in a remote cabin, surrounded by candles and arcane symbols, just as the cult had done decades ago. Panic swept through Ravenswood like a tidal wave, and trust among the townspeople disintegrated. Desperate to bring an end to the reign of terror, Sheriff Mitchell enlisted the help of a local historian named Evelyn Harper. She had dedicated her life to studying the town's history, including the cult's activities. Evelyn possessed a knowledge of ancient rituals and symbolism that proved invaluable in deciphering the cult's motives. Together, they uncovered a hidden underground chamber in the woods, where the cult had conducted their darkest ceremonies. Inside, they found a mural that depicted the malevolent deity and the cult's ultimate goal, to bring it forth into the world. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Sheriff Mitchell and Evelyn hatched a plan to confront the cult and put an end to their reign of terror once and for all. But as they delved deeper into the cult's secrets, they realized that the stakes were higher than they had ever imagined. The cult had grown stronger and more organized, and their final ritual was approaching. It was a race against time as they tried to gather the evidence needed to expose the cult's leaders and thwart their plans. As the fateful night of the cult's ritual neared, Ravenswood was gripped by a palpable sense of dread. The townspeople held their breath, waiting for the dawn that would either bring salvation or doom. In the shadowed corners of the town, the cult's members prepared for their darkest hour, intent on fulfilling their unholy purpose. In the heart of Ravenswood, a battle between light and darkness was about to begin, and the town's sinister secret would finally be revealed. The night of the cult's ritual descended upon Ravenswood with an oppressive darkness that seemed to seep into the very soul of the town. Sheriff Samuel Mitchell, Evelyn Harper, and their small band of dedicated townsfolk gathered in secret, armed with the knowledge of the cult's plans and the resolve to stop them. The group had discovered that the cult intended to perform the ritual at an abandoned church on the outskirts of town, a place that had once served as their unholy sanctuary. It was the same church where decades ago the cult had conducted their sinister ceremonies. With the moon shrouded in clouds, they set out towards the abandoned church, moving in stealthy silence through the overgrown forest. The eerie hush was broken only by the rustling leaves and the distant echoes of the cult's chanting, growing louder as they neared their destination. As they approached the church, the group saw the flickering glow of torches illuminating the night. The cult members had gathered in a circle, their hooded figures swaying rhythmically, their voices rising in a twisted chant that sent shivers down the spines of those who listened. Sheriff Mitchell and Evelyn Harper knew that they had little time. They had to disrupt the ritual before it was too late. With grim determination, they advanced, their hearts pounding in their chests. The cultists' senses sharpened, and they turned their hooded heads toward the intruders. Panic and anger flickered across their faces as they recognized Sheriff Mitchell and the determined townsfolk. The cult's leader, a man named Elias Blackwood, stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with fanaticism. "You are too late, Sheriff," Elias hissed, his voice carrying an eerie power. "The abyss awaits, and we shall be its heralds." With those ominous words, the cultists surged forward, their robes billowing in the wind as they advanced with unnatural speed. The townsfolk and their sheriff fought back fiercely, but the cultists seemed impervious to pain, driven by a dark force that gave them unnatural strength. Evelyn Harper, her knowledge of the cult's rituals guiding her, realized that they needed to disrupt the patterns of the ceremony. She hurriedly etched symbols of protection into the earth with a piece of chalk she had brought, forming a barrier around the cult's makeshift altar. As the battle raged on, the skies above Ravenswood seemed to tear open, unleashing a torrential downpour that drenched the combatants. The cult's fire was extinguished, and their chants grew desperate as the symbols of protection held firm. Elias Blackwood, his once commanding presence reduced to a frantic frenzy, attempted to complete the ritual on his own. He chanted the incantation, his voice cracking with desperation, but the power of the abyss remained locked away. With a final determined effort, Sheriff Mitchell and the townsfolk overwhelmed the cultists, driving them back. They managed to capture Elias Blackwood, his hood falling to reveal a face twisted by fanaticism. As the first light of dawn began to break, the cult's power waned, and the town of Ravenswood was saved from the darkness that had threatened to consume it. The cultists were taken into custody, their reign of terror finally at an end. In the days that followed, Ravenswood began the slow process of healing. The townspeople faced the unsettling truth that their peaceful town had been a breeding ground for such malevolent forces. They vowed to remain vigilant, to never forget the horrors of the past, and to ensure that the cult would never rise again. Sheriff Samuel Mitchell and Evelyn Harper became local heroes, their courage and knowledge instrumental in saving the town. They knew that the cult's malevolent deity still lingered in the abyss, waiting for another opportunity to escape, but they also knew that Ravenswood would never again be a place of complacency. As the years passed, the town of Ravenswood became known not only for its idyllic charm, but also for the resilience of its people in the face of darkness. The memory of the cult and the sinister secret they had harbored served as a constant reminder that evil could lurk in even the most peaceful of places, and that it was up to the vigilance of the townspeople to ensure that the shadows never returned. Thanks for watching. To support us, please like and subscribe.